But when those exports to China shrink in Australia, it's going to cause a recession in Australia that will then pop Australia's real estate bubble. Hi. One of the benefits that I get from being able to travel to all these different countries that I've been invited to speak at is when I'm going to be addressing an audience in a different country, I try to make my presentations very personal. And so I have to study their economy and their monetary system, their political system sometimes, in depth before I can make a presentation. And so it gives me sort of a view as to how everything is interconnected in this world. On my trips to Australia, one of the things that I've been warning about is that their growing dependence on exports to China for their economy, the health of their economy. And I just ran across a chart that I wanted to show you that corroborates everything that I've been saying. The blue bars are 2007 and the gray bars are 2013. And in 2007, 14% of Australia's exports went to China. By 2013, it was up at 36%, and it's even higher today. Now, that is a third of your exports going to just one place is something that's very out of balance. Australia is a natural resource country. They dig things up and chop things down and export them. So it's really the real estate boom that's been going on in China that has been driving a lot of Australia's economy. And China just, they're having their stock market crash. Things aren't going too well. They are going into recession, and I believe it's going to be a nasty one. And their government is trying to do everything it can to manipulate it and keep them out of recession and not allow the free market to put things back into balance. And that's just going to make it a whole lot worse. But when those exports to China shrink in Australia, it's going to cause a recession in Australia that will then pop Australia's real estate bubble. Back in 2008, when the US real estate bubble and the British real estate bubble popped, a lot of the real estate bubbles around the world just sort of paused for a little while, and then they took a breath and kept on running. And they've become very massive. It would have been better if all of them had popped back in 2008, I'm sorry. So now the scale of them means that the reversion back to the mean is going to be far greater. The pain is going to be far greater. But overall, Australia and New Zealand, these areas are very good places to live because of demographics. And we'll be going into a lot of these demographics in an upcoming episode of Hidden Secrets of Money featuring Harry Dent and a lot of his research. And he talks about something called the demographic cliff. Australia has good population demographics. They've got a large pool of younger workers coming up to support the retirees. And so over the long run, Australia is going to be in very good condition, and New Zealand. In the short run, though, I think they're in for some pain. And these things ricochet around the world. The stock market crash in China, you already see its effects happening in the United States, but it can take years. When the Thai baht was unpegged and lost tremendous value back in 1997, it took a year for those repercussions to echo around and cause the Russian bond default, which then caused long-term capital management to melt down. It was a chain reaction of all of these things, but it's a lengthy process, and we're going through the same thing right now. This is going to be a global event. I have said quite often, and it's actually a quote I stole from my cameraman Dan, that this is only a speed bump on the way to the main event, that the second half of the global crisis is going to be far greater than the first half. And I believe that we're going into that pretty much now. We've seen a sort of a flash crash in the US stock market. I think that's like the first shot across the bow. It's a warning that something worse is coming. And there's a lot of evidence that we are actually in a recession. but the Federal Reserve would like to deny it and hope things are better than they really are. The problem is that people are going to meddle with everything again and try and in China they're trying to prevent the stock market crash and a recession, and the government's trying to manipulate it, and all they're going to do is make things far worse. And when the free market tries to balance things, that's painful, but it's caused because of the previous manipulations. And allowing the pain to be quite intense will make it much shorter. If they come in and try, I mean, if you look at Japan, Japan's been manipulating everything and trying to lift themselves out of a recession now since 1989, 1990, and it hasn't worked. What they've caused is 25 years of complete stagnation and going nowhere, and a bad, sluggish economy. Now in Australia, this crisis, the politicians are going to make everything worse. It's going to be the same in the United States and globally. The politicians just have to meddle with things, and they can't let the free market clear out the excesses and then start fresh again. And so when they blame it on the free market, don't believe it. It was all caused. The reason we had a crash in the year 2000 was because Greenspan created a bubble. The reason we had a crash in 2008, that was actually Greenspan's bubble, and then Ben Bernanke responded to it with the massive QE. And the reason that we've got a stock market bubble right now, this is Ben Bernanke's bubble, and Janet Yellen is going to respond to it. And each one of them make the next one worse because they just won't let the free market work. So when you hear somebody blaming it, oh, the free markets aren't working, don't believe them, educate them. It wasn't the free market, it was those people that try to manipulate everything and the central planning that caused the problems. So anyway, until next time, we'll see you later.